Remember when the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One came out in 2013? As the initial excitement of their launch lineups began to fade, many gamers toggled their HDMI inputs back to their old PS3 or 360 to spend time with some old favorites. And despite having just paid $400 to $500 for a new console, they had to play those old favorites on Bush administration era hardware still struggling to run at 720p. Mercifully, the transition to the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 generation promises to be the smoothest in console history. Thanks to backward compatibility in both new machines, the first time we log in, we can expect to see every game and every save file from our old libraries. And they'll run even better than ever before. Microsoft deserves a lot of credit here. Just like its efforts to break down the cross-platform multiplayer wall, the company has led the backward compatibility charge over the last 5 years and made it known early on the ambition to have every current-gen Xbox game run on the new Series X. Whether Sony had planned to do the same on its own or not, we'll probably never know, but Microsoft's push to eliminate the generational divide pretty much forced PlayStation to follow the same path. Sony has been coy about touting the PS5's backward compatibility, but it is confirmed. Microsoft may still have the advantage over Sony though, since the PS5 probably won't be able to run PlayStation 3 games unless you count streaming via PlayStation Now, while the Xbox Series X will benefit from the work that was done to make Xbox 360 games run on the Xbox One. Although this gives Microsoft an extra generation of backward compatibility, what will undoubtedly matter most to players is access to the Xbox One and PS4's libraries, which themselves both include no shortage of remasters and ports from the previous generation anyway. Regardless, all gamers will benefit now that backward compatibility has been effectively established as the new standard. Of course, this isn't the first time we've seen a new console play its predecessor's games. The PlayStation 2 could handle almost any original PlayStation disc, and the first model of the PlayStation 3 actually included a tiny PS2 inside of it. But it is the first time that we've seen backwards compatibility as a standard feature across both Sony and Microsoft's consoles. The main technological reason is that both new consoles share a standardized x86 chip architecture with their previous versions. That allows software to run on either one without having to dramatically rework the code for a different platform. By contrast, the PlayStation 3 ran on a proprietary cell processor, which was different enough from the PS4's x86 chip that porting games between the two took a lot of work. The cell was in turn completely different from the PS2's Emotion Engine processor, which is why later PS3 models couldn't handle PS2 games. They didn't include the necessary hardware. Another exciting trend this generation is that old games will most likely play even better on the new systems than on those that they were designed for. We've already seen this with the half-step introduction of the PlayStation 4 Pro and Xbox One X. While features like 4K resolution and 60 frames per second will likely require developers to come back in and patch in those options, the PS4 Pro has a boost mode that improves the frame rate of games without any further reprogramming. It's not foolproof though. Sony had to include the option to disable it in case of technical problems, since some games were short-sightedly designed to rely on very specific hardware features for things like timing and physics. That's probably why we've seen reports that Sony has patented a technology to allow the PS5 to power itself down to PS4 and PS4 Pro levels to fool games into thinking they're running on older hardware. Regardless, load times should be faster across the board, because the bottlenecks created by the old console's physical hard drives and RAM will be reduced thanks to new super-fast SSD storage. Although their next-gen tactics share similarities, there's one place where Microsoft and Sony have a very different approach. While your PlayStation 5 will play old games, your PlayStation 4 won't necessarily play the new ones. Sony seems intent on quickly releasing PS5 exclusives to drive adoption of the new hardware. Meanwhile, Microsoft's first wave of post-Series X first-party games will be available on both Series X and on Xbox One, as well as on PC, though they'll look and play better on the Series X. In other words, Microsoft is pursuing a more gradual transition, while Sony's inviting you to quickly hop the gap. In time, we'll presumably see Microsoft phase out support for the original Xbox One and Xbox One S, in the same way that Apple gradually stopped supporting old iPhones. But the company seems content for now to let gamers upgrade their hardware to the new expensive model at their own pace. It's a key difference in philosophies, and it'll be interesting to see which one pays off more with gamers in 2020 and beyond. Are you planning to make the jump to next gen right away? Let us know in the comments, and for more on the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, keep it to IGN.